The massive space station called Kepler Prime floated in the dark space between stars. Its metal walls stretched for miles in every direction. Inside the main chamber, beings from across the galaxy gathered around a huge circular table. Each creature looked different from the others. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with strange lights. Captain Jake Morrison sat alone in the corner. He was the only human in the room. His simple blue uniform looked plain next to the fancy clothes worn by the other beings. He held a small data pad in his hands and watched quietly as the meeting began. A tall reptilian being called Vextar stood up. His green scales caught the light as he moved. He was the leader of the Zephyrian people, and he spoke from many worlds. His voice was deep and rough when he talked. Today we will review the military power of all species in our galaxy, Vextar said. We must know who can defend themselves and who cannot. The first to show their weapons were the Korthini. They were big creatures with 4 arms and thick skin like rocks. Their leader pressed a button, and a video screen appeared in the air. It showed their plasma cannons firing at a large asteroid. The rock melted like ice in the sun. Our weapons can destroy anything, the Korthini leader said proudly. No enemy can stand against us. Next came the Valthari. They looked like tall, thin humans, but with silver skin that shined. Their weapons were different. Instead of destroying things, they could stop attacks. Their quantum shields could protect entire planets from enemy fire. Defense is the key to victory, their ambassador explained. Our shields have never been broken. Then the Axiom Collective presented their fleet. They were machines that had become alive long ago. Their ships were huge and black, shaped like giant swords. The video showed one of their dreadnoughts splitting a small planet in half with a single shot. We bring order to chaos, their mechanical voice said. Those who resist us are removed. One by one, each species showed their power. The hegemony displayed their massive fleets. The Zorathi demonstrated their mind control weapons. The Crystalline Empire revealed their ability to turn entire star systems into fortresses. Finally, Vextar looked at Jake Morrison. Now we come to the humans, he said. Captain Morrison, please show us what Earth brings to our galaxy. Jake stood up slowly. He was not very tall and did not look impressive next to the other beings. He walked to the center of the room and connected his datapad to the main display. Earth has a defense fleet of 200 ships, Jake said in a calm voice. Our weapons are kinetic cannons and nuclear missiles. Our shields can stop small meteors and debris. The room became very quiet. Then someone started to laugh. It was a low chuckle at first, but it grew louder. Soon more beings joined in. The laughter spread around the room like fire. Admiral Zethkal of the Hegemony slammed his fist on the table. He was a massive creature with blue skin and 6 eyes. 200 ships? He roared. My personal guard has more ships than that. Nuclear weapons? Laughed Ambassador Quindal of the Valthari. We stopped using such primitive tools 1,000 years ago. The Korthini leader shook his head. These humans are like children playing with toys. How did they even reach space? Jake continued his presentation without showing any emotion. He showed pictures of Earth's ships. They were small and simple compared to the massive warships of other species. The weapons looked basic and old. The shields were thin and weak. This is embarrassing, said the Axiom Collective representative. These humans have no real military at all. Perhaps they should consider becoming a protectorate, suggested Vextar. They clearly cannot defend themselves. The laughter grew even louder. Some beings were holding their sides and wiping tears from their eyes. Jake Morrison stood in the center of it all, his face showing no anger or shame. He simply waited for them to finish. When the noise finally died down, Several ambassadors approached Jake. They spoke to him like adults talking to a small child. "Little human," said Admiral Zethkal, "you should accept our protection. We will keep you safe from the dangerous galaxy." "Your world has good food and minerals," added the Korthani leader. "We will trade protection for resources. It is a fair deal." Ambassador Quindle nodded. "The Velthari are generous. We will build shield generators around your planet. You will be perfectly safe under our care." Jake listened to each offer politely. He nodded and smiled at the right moments. When they finished talking, he spoke quietly. "Thank you for your kind offers," he said. "But humanity prefers to remain independent. We will defend ourselves." This caused another wave of laughter. The beings could not believe what they were hearing. "Defend yourselves?" Admiral Zethkal asked. "With what? Your tiny fleet would not last 5 minutes against real warships." "We have studied your technology," said the Axiom Collective. "Your best weapons are weaker than our mining tools." Jake packed up his datapad and prepared to leave. "Nevertheless, we choose to stand alone," he said. "Earth will take care of itself." The other beings watched him walk toward the exit. They were still chuckling and shaking their heads. Some made jokes about human stupidity. Others talked about how Earth would beg for help within a year. "Those humans will learn," said Vextar. "The galaxy is not kind to the weak." Jake Morrison left the chamber and walked through the corridors of Kepler Prime. His ship was small and plain, just like everything else about Earth's presence here. The UEC. Vigilant looked like a cargo hauler next to the warships of other species. Inside his ship, Jake sat at the communications console. He entered a long code that took several minutes to type. Then he recorded a simple message. "This is Morrison. Package delivered as planned. Full response has been authorized. Recommend we proceed to Phase 2 immediately." He sent the message toward Earth using a special transmitter hidden in his ship's hull. The signal would take days to reach home, but it would get there. Jake leaned back in his chair and allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy thought it knew everything about humanity. They had laughed at Earth's military report. They had offered protection like adults offering candy to children. Soon they would learn that appearances could be very deceiving. The beings who laughed today would not be laughing much longer. Earth had been waiting for this moment for 50 years. The real test was about to begin. 3 months passed since the meeting at Kepler Prime. The galaxy had forgotten about the humans and their weak military. Most beings thought Earth would soon beg for protection from stronger species. They were wrong. The hegemony fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a dark cloud covering the sun. 500 warships moved in perfect formation through space. At the front flew the massive flagship called World Breaker. The ship was as big as a small moon and covered with weapons that could destroy planets. Admiral Zethkal stood on the bridge of his flagship. His 6 blue eyes looked at the small yellow star ahead. Somewhere near that star was the pathetic little world called Earth. He remembered laughing at their military report. 200 tiny ships and primitive weapons. It had been the funniest thing he had heard in years. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we are receiving signals from the human homeworld." "Let me hear them," Admiral Zethkal commanded. The bridge filled with the sounds of human radio broadcasts. Music, news reports, and entertainment programs flowed through space. The Admiral listened and smiled. These humans had no idea what was coming for them. "They sound so peaceful," laughed one of his officers. "Almost like children playing games." Admiral Zethkal nodded. "Soon they will learn that the galaxy belongs to the strong. Begin the demonstration." The hegemony fleet moved toward a group of large asteroids floating in space. The World Breaker's main cannon charged up with blue energy. When it fired, the asteroids simply disappeared. not destroyed or broken apart, but completely gone as if they had never existed. "Send the message to Earth," the Admiral ordered. "On Earth." President Lisa Harper sat in the White House Situation Room. Around the table were the most important people in the human government. General Ryan Brooks commanded all of Earth's military forces. Defense Secretary Kate Williams handled all matters of war and peace. They looked worried as they watched the screens showing the alien fleet. "How many ships did our scouts count?" President Harper asked. 500 confirmed, General Brooks replied. "Their flagship alone has more firepower than our entire public fleet." "Public fleet?" asked Secretary Williams. General Brooks looked at the President. She nodded slightly. "Kate, there are things about our military that not everyone knows," President said carefully. "For now, let's focus on what the aliens are telling us." The communication from Admiral Zethkal came through clearly. His image appeared on the main screen. The alien commander looked even more frightening than before. His blue skin seemed darker, and his 6 eyes glowed with anger. "Humans of Earth," he began. "I am Admiral Zethkal of the Hegemony. Your world is now surrounded by my fleet. You have 72 hours to surrender completely." He paused and smiled, showing sharp teeth. "I remember your pathetic display at the Galactic Council. 200 ships and nuclear weapons. How amusing that was. Now you will see what real power looks like." The screen showed the destruction of the asteroids again. The message was clear. "Accept hegemony rule, and your people will be allowed to live as our servants. Refuse, and your world will be turned to dust. You have no choice. Your tiny fleet cannot protect you from us." The transmission ended. The Situation Room became very quiet. "Well," said President Harper, "I suppose we need to give them an answer." Secretary Williams looked confused. "Madam President, surely we cannot fight 500 warships with only 200 of our own. Maybe we should consider their offer." General Brooks and the President exchanged another look. "Kate," the President said gently, "why don't you call your family and tell them to stay indoors for the next few days? There might be some unusual activity in the sky." Before Secretary Williams could ask what that meant, President Harper was already recording her response to the aliens. "Admiral Zethkal," she said to the camera, "thank you for your offer. However, the United States of America and all nations of Earth must politely decline. We prefer to remain independent." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "I would suggest that you reconsider your position. Earth is not as defenseless as you believe. You have 72 hours to leave our solar system peacefully." When Admiral Zethkal received this message, he could not believe what he was hearing. The human leader was threatening him? Him? The commander of the most powerful fleet in the galaxy? "Play it again," he ordered his communications officer. They watched. The message 3 times. Each time, Admiral Zethkal became more angry. Finally, he started laughing so hard that tears came from his eyes. "She thinks Earth can threaten us," he gasped between laughs. "These humans have completely lost their minds." His officers joined in the laughter. The idea that Earth could resist the hegemony was the most ridiculous thing they had ever heard. "Sir?" asked his weapons officer. "Should we just destroy them now? Why wait 3 days?" "No," Admiral Zethkal said, wiping his eyes. "Let them have their 72 hours. I want them to think about what is coming. Fear makes the lesson stronger." Back on Earth, President Harper walked down a long corridor, deep under the Pentagon. General Brooks walked beside her. They passed through many security checkpoints and locked doors. Finally, they reached a room that few people knew existed. The room was filled with screens and computers operated by people in military uniforms. At the center sat a console that had never been used before. President Harper placed her hand on a scanner and spoke her authorization code. "Excalibur Protocol is now active," she announced. Across the room, screens began lighting up. Signals went out to hidden facilities around the world and throughout the solar system. Places that had been secret for 50 years suddenly came alive with activity. On the dark side of the moon, Commander Alex Turner received the activation codes at his hidden base. Similar messages reached facilities on Mars, Europa, and Titan. Asteroid mining stations that were not really mining stations powered up their true equipment. Space construction platforms revealed their real purpose. "All Excalibur sites report ready," announced a communications officer. General Brooks picked up a special phone that connected to the most secret command center in the solar system. "Admiral Parker," he said into the phone, "you are authorized to decloak the real fleet. Show them what humanity can really do." Somewhere in the darkness of space, Admiral Sam Parker smiled. She had been waiting 50 years for this moment. Her ships had been hiding in perfect silence, watching and waiting. The aliens thought they knew about Earth's military power. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "All ships," she broadcast. On the hidden channel, "prepare for Phase 2 activation. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are." The countdown began. In 48 hours, the hegemony would discover that humanity had been playing a very different game all along. The laughter was about to stop forever. The 72 hours ended with the rising of the sun over Earth. Admiral Zefkal stood on the bridge of the World Breaker and watched the small blue planet through his viewing screen. He had expected a message of surrender from the humans. Instead, there had been only silence. "Foolish creatures," he muttered. "They choose to die rather than accept wisdom." His fleet spread out in attack formation. The World Breaker moved to the front, its weapons charging with deadly energy. Behind it, 499 other warships prepared for battle. Each ship carried enough firepower to level the city. "All ships, prepare to fire, Admiral," Zefkal commanded. "We will start with their military bases and then move to the population centers. Make it quick." Across the galaxy, other species watched through long-range sensors. They wanted to see how the mighty hegemony would destroy the stubborn humans. Most expected the battle to be over in minutes. The first sign that something was wrong came from the sensor officer on the World Breaker. "Sir," he said nervously, "I'm detecting strange energy readings throughout the solar system." "What kind of readings?" Admiral Zefkal asked. "Power signatures, sir. Very large ones. They're appearing everywhere." Before the Admiral could respond, space around the hegemony fleet began to change. What had looked like empty darkness suddenly filled with lights. Massive structures appeared from nowhere, as if they had been invisible until this moment. The asteroid belt was not just rocks floating in space. It was a fortress. Hundreds of weapon platforms disguised as asteroids dropped their camouflage and revealed gun barrels the size of buildings. Each platform bristled with weapons that made hegemony cannons look like toys. "What is this?" Admiral Zefkal gasped. On the moon, Commander Alex Turner's base shed its holographic disguise. The surface of Earth's satellite split open like a flower, revealing a massive cannon installation that dwarfed anything in the hegemony fleet. The weapon was so large that it used the moon's core as its power source. Similar installations appeared on Mars, Europa, and Titan. Every planet and moon in the solar system had been turned into a weapon. The humans had not just built a few ships. They had militarized their entire star system. But the biggest shock was yet to come. Earth's modest fleet of 200 ships suddenly became 2,000 ships as advanced stealth technology shut down. The vessels that appeared bore no resemblance to the primitive craft described in the Council reports. These were sleek death machines covered in armor that seemed to bend light around them, the flagship of this hidden Armada was the UES Retribution. It was 3 times the size of the Worldbreaker, and covered with weapons that looked like they came from the future. On its bridge stood Admiral Sam Parker, a woman who had never appeared in any galactic intelligence report. "Admiral Zethkal," she said over the communication channel, "you wanted to see Earth's real military capability. Congratulations. You're looking at it." Admiral Zethkal's 6 eyes widened in terror. His voice cracked when he tried to speak. "Where did all these ships come from? Our intelligence said you only had 200 vessels." Admiral Parker smiled coldly. "Your intelligence was looking at our police force. These are our actual warships." The hegemony fleet tried to maintain their attack formation, but they were surrounded. Human ships had appeared in every direction. The aliens found themselves trapped in the middle of a force that outnumbered them 10 to 1. "Impossible," Admiral Zethkal whispered. "No species could hide this many ships. Our sensors would have detected them." "Your sensors saw exactly what we wanted them to see," Admiral Parker replied. "We've been watching you for 50 years. We know everything about your technology. You know nothing about ours." To prove her point, Admiral Parker ordered a demonstration. The UES Retribution fired a single shot from its main gun. The beam of energy was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It passed right through the Worldbreaker's shields as if they didn't exist and cut a hole clean through the massive ship. Admiral Zethkal felt his flagship shake. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the bridge. His crew ran around trying to fix the damage, but there was nothing they could do. The human weapon had sliced through their strongest armor like it was paper. "That was a warning shot," Admiral Parker announced. "Our weapons operate on principles your science hasn't discovered yet. Your shields are useless against us." The battle began in earnest. The hegemony fleet tried to fight back, but it was hopeless. Human ships moved through space in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. They appeared and disappeared at will. Their weapons fired beams that created small black holes, sucking enemy ships into nothingness. The humans also released swarms of drones that moved with perfect coordination. Thousands of small robotic fighters attacked the hegemony vessels from all sides. Each drone was controlled by artificial intelligence that reacted faster than any living creature could think. Within minutes, half of the hegemony fleet was either destroyed or floating dead in space. The survivors tried to retreat, but found themselves surrounded by human ships that had somehow gotten behind them. "How are you moving so fast?" Admiral Zethkal demanded. "Your engines should not be capable of such speed." "We don't use engines like yours," Admiral Parker explained. "We learned to fold space itself. We can be anywhere in the solar system in seconds." The Worldbreaker tried to run, but 3 human ships appeared directly in front of it. The massive hegemony flagship, which had destroyed planets, was now trapped by vessels a fraction of its size. "Admiral Zethkal," Admiral Parker said, "you have 2 choices. Surrender now, and we'll let your remaining ships return home. Continue fighting, and we'll destroy every single one of you." The alien admiral looked around his bridge. Half of his crew was dead or wounded. His ship was badly damaged and couldn't fight anymore. Through his viewing screen, he could see the remains of his once mighty fleet scattered across space. "I don't understand," he said weakly. "How did you hide all of this? How did we never detect your real capabilities?" "Because we're smarter than you gave us credit for," Admiral Parker replied. "While you were laughing at our primitive technology, we were studying your weaknesses. We let you underestimate us while we prepared for this day." Admiral Zethkal's pride was broken along with his fleet. The hegemony had never been defeated in battle. They were supposed to be the strongest military force in the galaxy. Now they were being crushed by the species they had mocked as primitives. "We surrender," he said quietly. "Please don't destroy my remaining ships." "Your surrender is accepted," Admiral Parker announced. "You will return to hegemony space and deliver a message to your leaders. Tell them that Earth is not interested in conquest, but any future aggression against humanity will be met with complete destruction." The surviving hegemony ships limped away from Earth, their hulls scarred and their pride shattered. They carried with them news that would shake the entire galaxy. Humanity had revealed its true power, and nothing would ever be the same again. The news traveled faster than any ship could fly. Across the galaxy, communication networks buzzed with the impossible story. The hegemony, the most feared military force in known space, had been defeated by humans. The same humans who had been laughed at just months before. On Kepler Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The great chamber that had once echoed with laughter now filled with frightened whispers. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat around the circular table, their faces showing shock and fear. Ambassador Vextar called the meeting to order, but his voice shook as he spoke. "We have all seen the reports from the hegemony fleet. We need to understand what happened at Earth." The Quarthany representative slammed his 4 fists on the table. This must be a lie. No species could hide such a massive military force. Our intelligence networks would have detected it. "The evidence is clear," said the Velthari ambassador. "We have sensor recordings from 12 different sources. The humans possess technology far beyond anything we have seen." A holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed the battle footage from the hegemony ships. The assembled beings watched in silence as human vessels appeared from nowhere and destroyed warships with weapons that seemed like magic. "Look at their ships," whispered the Zarathi representative. "They move through space as if the laws of physics don't apply to them." "And their weapons," added the Crystalline Empire delegate. "They create gravitational anomalies that our science cannot explain." Ambassador Vextar stood up slowly. He remembered the day when Captain Jake Morrison had presented Earth's military report. 200 ships and primitive weapons. Everyone in the room had laughed at the humans. Now that laughter seemed like a terrible mistake. "How did we get this so wrong?" he asked. "How did our intelligence fail so completely?" Before anyone could answer, the chamber doors opened. Captain Jake Morrison walked in, but he was not alone. This time, behind him came Admiral Sam Parker and a full diplomatic delegation from Earth. They wore crisp military uniforms and moved with the confidence of people who had just won a great victory. The alien representatives fell silent as the humans took their seats at the table. The same beings who had mocked Captain Morrison now looked at him with fear and respect. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," Captain Morrison began, "Earth appreciates this opportunity to address your concerns about recent events." Admiral Parker stood up and activated a presentation device. Images appeared showing Earth's true military capabilities, the hidden bases, the cloaked fleets, and the advanced weapons that had crushed the hegemony. "For 50 years," she explained, "humanity has been preparing for galactic conflict. We studied every species in this council. We learned your strengths and weaknesses. We discovered your military tactics and weapon systems." Dr. Helen Chang, Earth's chief military strategist, stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice carried great authority. "We call it the iceberg doctrine," she said. "Show only a tiny portion of your true capabilities, while keeping the vast majority hidden beneath the surface. This strategy has served us well." The Axiom Collective representative, a machine being, spoke in its electronic voice. "Why did you hide your true nature? Why not reveal your power and take your place among the strong?" Dr. Chong smiled. "Because we learned from galactic history. Species that advertise their military strength become targets. They face preemptive strikes or are forced into unwanted alliances. We chose a different path. Captain Morrison activated another display. It showed intelligence reports for across the galaxy. The aliens gasped as they recognized their own military secrets displayed on the screen. Agent Danny Foster spent 10 years infiltrated in Corthany society as a trade representative. Morrison explained. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos lived among the Volthari forces for 8 years as an exchange officer. We have operatives in every major civilization. The truth was devastating. While the galaxy had been laughing at human weakness, Earth had been conducting the most successful intelligence operation in history. They knew more about galactic military capabilities than most species knew about themselves. You have been spying on us for decades, accused the hegemony representative, who had arrived to replace Admiral Zethkal. We have been learning, Admiral Parker corrected. Knowledge is the greatest weapon of all. Ambassador Vexstar leaned forward in his chair. What does Earth want from us now? You have shown that you could conquer any of our worlds. Will you? Demand tribute? Territory? Submission? Captain Morrison shook his head. Earth seeks only peaceful coexistence. We have no desire to rule over other species or take their worlds. We simply want to be left alone to develop as we choose. But if we are threatened again, Admiral Parker added, the response will be swift and final. What you saw at the hegemony fleet was just a small demonstration. Our true capabilities are far greater. The chamber erupted in nervous discussion. Representatives whispered to each other in their native languages. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted completely. The species that had once dominated galactic politics now had to consider their relationship with humanity. The Velthari ambassador raised his hand for attention. Earth speaks of peace, but how can we trust you? Your deception has been complete. For 50 years, how do we know you won't attack us next? Dr. Chong answered this question. Because conquest was never our goal. If we wanted to rule the galaxy, we would have attacked you first, not waited for you to threaten us. We revealed our strength only when forced to defend ourselves. Over. The following weeks, the political landscape of the galaxy changed dramatically. Species that had once formed alliances against common enemies now competed to establish favorable relations with Earth. Trade agreements were offered. Cultural exchanges were proposed. Military partnerships were suggested. The Corthany, who had mocked human weapons, now requested technology-sharing agreements. The Velthari offered to upgrade their shield generators to protect human colonies. Even the Axiom Collective expressed interest in learning about human artificial intelligence. Captain Morrison found himself in a very different position than before. The same ambassadors who had offered Earth protection now sought protection. From Earth, they asked for guarantees that humanity would not use its superior technology against them. President Lisa Harper addressed the galaxy from the Oval Office. Her message was broadcast to every inhabited world. Humanity extends friendship to all peaceful species, she said. We believe that diversity makes the galaxy stronger. Different cultures, different ideas, and different perspectives all have value. She paused and looked directly into the camera. But to those who would threaten peace, remember that what you have seen is only the beginning of what we can do. Earth will defend itself and its allies with whatever force is necessary. The message was clear. Humanity was willing to be a friend, but it was also ready to be an enemy to those who chose conflict. In the final scene, Captain Morrison stood on the observation deck of Kepler Prime. Through the massive windows, he could see the stars of the galaxy stretching out into infinity. Behind him, alien representatives moved through the corridors with new respect for the human presence. The laughter had stopped forever. In its place was something far more valuable. The understanding that appearances could be very deceiving, and that the most dangerous opponents were often those who seemed the least threatening. Humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson that would not be forgotten. Sometimes the quiet ones were the ones you should fear the most.